right, we're unmuted. Hello, welcome back. I hope you guys enjoyed that little transition there of us scurrying around. I am here with, go ahead, introduce yourself.
My name is Balraj Dhillon. I'm a kinesiologist by background. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's very similar to a physiotherapist.
Wow, see that? We got a professional here. So guys, feel free to bonk each other's heads. We got a professional. No, I'm joking. Don't actually do that. That's bad. So what it is that you, can you give a little bit more? What is it that you guys actually specialize in? What is it that you focus on primarily?
Yeah, absolutely. So our training allows us to treat musculoskeletal injuries regardless of what they are. So if you've been in a car accident, you have a sports injury, neck pain, back pain, surgeries, etc. We are qualified and educated to treat all that and actually actively continue to treat all that. But our organization focuses more on MTBIs, concussions, post-stroke rehabilitation, because we're noticing that more and more concussions are being reported as stats continue to come out with research, largely due to the NFL, but also other sports coming out. In hockey, Sidney Crosby missed a whole year with a concussion, and that really ramped up Canada's awareness to concussions. So we're noticing that there's a lot of companies out there in the Lower Mainland, BC, in the interior, in Victoria, who, the term we like to use is they put up a shingle and say we do concussion rehab. But really, they don't really know the evidence or the research behind it. They're just doing things that they think are going to help. So if a concussed patient comes in and says, I have trouble with balance, they'll make them stand on one leg. And that's a really exaggerated example, but that's the kind of absurdity that we see in the market. So our organization, Bayshore Therapy and Rehab, you can check us out at btrbc.ca. Little plug there.
Dustin over there will get that all in the chat.
Perfect. Again, that was www.btrbc.ca. So we're all over BC. We partnered with the University of Victoria's neuropsychology department, and we also partnered with University of British Columbia, UBC's medicine department, and we spent over a year researching and developing a brain injury and concussion rehabilitation program. And the reason that it's called brain injury and concussion is that the two can actually be different. You have what's called an acquired brain injury, and that's things like concussions where there was a trauma that sustained the injury. But there's also other brain injuries that can occur, whether that's some sort of neurological disease, chronic conditions, you have a stroke or other sort of cardiac episode. So we treat both. And so our programs, we have physiotherapists, occupational therapists, kinesiologists, psychologists, counselors, all on staff, and the patient essentially gets to see all of them.
Damn, man.
Bit of a
I
ramble
did
there.
not expect all that. No, that was great.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that. When he came on here, he's like, man, I don't know what to say. I'm like, God, just do you. Just do you. And he clearly did just him. So what kind of, what do you see the most of, though? What type of profession do people come in from?
All sorts of things. So one thing I want, as I was sitting in the background listening to you guys lead me in, you guys were talking about, bonking your head and getting concussions. You actually don't need trauma to the head to sustain a concussion. You can have trauma anywhere on the body, in the hips, in the knees, in the shoulders. You actually could have no trauma and sustain a concussion. So when the head moves rapidly, the skull encompasses the brain, but there's a barrier in there. Your cerebrospinal fluid is actually acts like a cushion in between the actual physical brain and the bones of the skull. So if you turn your head to the right or left very, very quickly, your brain is actually going to make contact with the skull.
So like whiplash or something.
Exactly.
Really?
Yeah. So those are called cervicogenic headaches. You could be, if you're on a sports field and let's say you're playing football and you have the ball and you're running up the field and someone hits you in from the side in your hips and you're going to get a lateral whiplash, you could come up and be like, I have a headache, I'm dizzy. And most trainers won't actually suspect a concussion because they won't see a hit to the head. They're going to see a hit to the hips.
Serious? Wow.
So to answer your questions, I mean, most of our concussions we do see from trauma, such as car accidents, workplace injuries, but we've had some very bizarre one-off cases where we've had office workers come in with concussions.
That was going to be my next question. What is the most bizarre?
Yeah, definitely office workers where it was just a sudden movement and it caused a concussion.
How do you know that you have it? Like what? I can't say if I turn my head, like I'm going to assume, oh no, I feel weird. I have a concussion.
Yeah, and that's true. But now think of this. If you're sitting in the studio and you very, like someone opens the door behind you unexpectedly and you very quickly turn your head around and in the next 60 minutes, you begin to get a headache out of nowhere. You're starting to get a little bit nauseous. Maybe the lights in here are starting to be a little bit more sensitive.
Really?
You know that's not a normal response to turning your head. So your first thought might not be, damn, I'm concussed. But you definitely are going to be like, something is off. Like, I don't ever feel like this. So you'll probably go to your doctor. And that leads me into my next biggest gripe with concussions.
Can you, I was actually going to say that. Can you trust? Because I feel like sometimes these are all fabricated. Like they try to just keep, because they want us to continue to be sick and want us to continue to be.
Yeah, so there's no physical markers of a concussion or an MTBI.
Oh, okay.
There's no CAT scan, MRI, PET scan, X-ray, whatever. There's no definitive, oh yeah, look at there on the picture, that's a concussion. They are subjectively reported. However, through tons and tons of research, there are objective measures that we can assess a client and see how they perform. So there's certain baseline tests that we can do where you have normative data of how a quote-unquote normal person would score, and they're broken down in age groups, genders, occupations, medical history, etc. And you compare that to what this person's scoring, and you can conclude like, okay, you are concussed based off of how you're testing.
Wow.
Yeah. But so going back to the doctors, like your family physician, general medicine doctor, they're not trained in concussions.
Then why do they get paid so much?
So a really good sign of an excellent family doctor is one that will refer you to a professional in concussions when you report something like that.
Okay.
The reason being is when they're in school, they're going through general practice, general medicine. They're going through school to treat your colds, your flus, your other medical, medicine-related, physiology-related conditions. They're not going to school to be orthopedic or brain injury doctors. Neurologists, they have a passion for learning this stuff. Just like you wouldn't go to a cardiovascular doctor for your knee injury, going to a family practice doctor for a head injury doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I've seen people go for the doctor for some pretty ridiculous things.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And people go to ER for even more ridiculous things.
It's just crazy. I did not know all that.
Yeah.
Just
there's a lot of misinformation out there. Again, the biggest one being you got to hit your head to have a concussion. That's not true at all. And the second part is don't trust anyone, like everyone that says that they're concussion experts, question them on.
How do you question them then?
Ask them what evidence is your treatment based on? That's the number one, easiest question, because why would you go down the road of trying to address and treat such a complex and complicated injury? Because it's not just physical symptoms, it's medical symptoms like nausea and eye problems. It's cognitive issues, losing your memory, not being able to think as well. And it's also psychological issues and mental health issues because you're more depressed, you have anxiety, your relationships are breaking down. The number one complaint that we hear from people with concussions is my friends and family don't understand what I'm going through. They always ask why can't you come out for dinner, or why can't you just take a nap and come out? So if you're not equipped and experienced and educated and trained to deal with all of those symptoms, which by the way, one person shouldn't be, then you shouldn't be trying to treat people with concussions, because you have the future of someone's livelihood in your hands. When you get a concussion, the first 6 months are the most important.
Really?
How you're treated in the first 6 months can largely dictate if you're going to return to work and return to normal life, or if you're in the medical system for the next 5 to 10 years, just bouncing around from specialist to specialist, not really returning to work in any full-time capacity.
Is it possible to ever really recover from a
Yes and no. And it's going to
Concussions?
depend on the type of concussion you have. And by type, I mean severity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also going to depend on, is it your first one, your second one, your third one? Each time you get a concussion, it's worse than the last time.
Really?
So it's called a cumulative effect.
It's like an add numbers game kind of thing.
It is.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like if you sprain your ankle, you recover, but those ligaments and joints are a little bit more lax than they were pre-injury. And the second time you sprain it and you recover, and the third time, and eventually your ankle is just going to be super relaxed and have no stability. So same thing with concussions. You can have a really severe concussion, which, to be honest, it's sad. You probably won't ever recover 100%. But there are more milder concussions with the appropriate treatment that you can recover completely.
So I do have a question from chat.
Okay.
It
up,
says
Chad?
here, how would you bridge the misinformation gap that exists in society?
Ask questions. Like, don't ever just take recommendations.
So I can't
that are
just
given to
Google
you.
this?
Don't Google it.
can't.
And like, you know, understand that knowledge is power. Like, just because you're in the presence of someone like a family doctor doesn't mean that they know all. Question them on it, make them think. And again, like I said, you'll have a really good idea of what a good doctor looks like in general practice if they refer you on and they don't have that ego of, I'm going to fix you. And definitely get more than one opinion. Because like I said, if you have an injury and you're noticing your mental health has changed, talk to someone that has experience and expertise in mental health. If you're noticing that you're more nauseous and your balance is off, talk to someone that's more trained in vestibular. You know, you don't need to go to a one-stop shop and have someone, you know, be your hero. You should try to get the best specialists on your file that are going to help you.
So are things like this covered under some sort of insurance or no? Or is this...
It depends on where you sustain your injury, right? If you're in a car accident, then you have Part 7s under ICBC, which will fund you. If you're injured at work, WorkSafe takes care of you. But, you know, if you're just playing pick up soccer on, you know, on a Saturday afternoon and you hurt yourself, I mean, unfortunately, you know, I hope you have extended health from your work. And they'll cover you for a little bit.
That's super weird that doesn't cover that. Stuff can happen anywhere, really.
It can,
you know?
but again, it comes down to dollars and cents. Who's footing the bill?
Jesus, I don't like that. That hurts me.
And there are organizations. I mean, you know, the Fraser Valley Brain Injury Association, the Vancouver Island Brain Injury Association. Like, there are different resources out there for people who don't have coverage financially, or maybe they have financial coverage, but they just don't know where to start. So those resources are available. But again, our organization, Bayshore Therapy and Rehab, this is our bread and butter. So while we will take care of you if you've been in a car accident or a workplace injury, we're really focusing on being industry disruptors in the MTBI, the concussion, the post-stroke world, because there's far too many, and I can't list them because I will get a lot of, you know, defamation.
No, I'm not. I want exclusive.
I'm not gonna name names, but you know, there are a lot of companies, large corporations, and
I don't doubt it. There's always
small mom and pop shops that are gonna say we're concussion experts, and again, you're gonna get a really cookie cutter program. And if it is an orthopedic injury, and by orthopedic I mean, you know, muscle, tendon, joint related, sure, you can be a little bit more flexible with who you see because the body does have a natural healing response, and often your livelihood's not at stake. But when it comes to a brain injury, like I said, those first 6
I wanted to go back to the severity of these things.
Those first 6 months, man, like I've seen, like,
but that's what I meant. If you get these, if you follow everything within the first 6 months, does this? You're telling me that it'll increase the chances of
way more than 50%
of getting better. But
exponentially.
Somebody could still say it happened like 20 years ago, your concussions. And can that still be something that affects you to this day?
It can.
Yeah.
And there are small things that you can do to help address them. Maybe this person's just never had their balance looked at. And sure, we can restore a little bit to that, but chances are if you have symptoms 20 years later, which is referred to as post-concussion syndrome, they're with you for life. We can mitigate them a little bit with appropriate treatment all this time later, but yeah, I mean,
you can't like the person cannot try to alter things or try to like if they'll
naturally accommodate.
Yeah,
right.
okay.
I mean, if they've survived 20 years post, their body's adapted to different things. But to say that you've truly recovered is off the table.
So, okay, back to 6 months. If they follow everything,
Your chances of recovering are exponentially higher. Like, and again, it's not just starting treatment; it's starting the appropriate treatment. There's so many little gadgets and things out there that companies will throw at you.
Yeah, I was gonna say next. Sometimes, physio places or whatnot, they say, "Come to me," and it's just like I feel sometimes is more money grabbing.
100%.
than anything.
You go
else.
with what the new buzzword is, right?
Yeah.
If a new modality comes out, for example, shockwave. Sure, there's good research behind shockwave, and I know you guys might not know what it is.
I know shockwave. I had it done.
You had it done, yeah.
I had it done on me.
For certain injuries, shockwave is amazing. There's lots of good evidence behind it.
It was fun.
But if a clinic goes out and invests all that money, it's expensive to get shockwave. They are going to recommend it to every single person that walks in through the door and put a little bit of an upcharge on it because it's the new buzz thing. And now it's concussions. And they'll have you come in and they'll have you touch your finger to your nose, and they'll have you stand on one foot, and there's no evidence that's doing anything.
See, but how's the general public supposed to know that?
They don't. And that's why like I said, I go back to my original point, ask questions. Like if I go to a physio for any sort of general injury, I ask them, why are you doing this? It's the most simple question. If they start stuttering, I'm not going back there.
Okay, so I do have another question. How can you? Oh, actually, that's how do you decipher a good one then, a good physio from a bad physio? Like that, it goes back to how you're gonna know.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Again, first question you should ask is why are you taking this approach with me? They should be able to answer you right away. If you come to me, Daniel, and you say, hey, at my wrestling match, I tweaked my shoulder and these are the symptoms I'm having, and I start treating you in a certain way, I'm doing soft tissue release or whatever, and you ask me, so Balraj, like, why are you taking this approach with me? I would be able to answer you right away, Daniel, based on what you reported on how you fell and based on reporting what you're experiencing. It really sounds like your GH joint is just super constricted because muscles A, B, and C right here, they've tightened up, and that's a natural body's response to injury. So I'm going to work on releasing those, and it's going to give that joint capsule a little bit of room to move, and we're going to restore your mobility. Now, if I was just someone who's going to just treat your shoulder and be like, okay, let me just do to you what I did to the last 10 guys, and you go, hey, why are you taking this approach with me? And I go, oh, don't worry, just trust me, we're going to get your shoulder moving again. I would be like, whoa, like, okay, like I'm already here, do what you got to do, but I'm not coming back here, because they obviously haven't taken the time to actually think about how they're going to treat this and how your case is different from the person they saw 20 minutes ago.
So how long did it take you to get to this point? Like that you're comfortable enough to...
So I started school in 2011 and graduated in 2016. So I've been practicing since then. And like what I know today, I certainly didn't know then. What I know today, I didn't know a month ago, right? So a part of... I love what I do, so I'm always looking to seek out new opportunities. I'm always looking to look, like no one ever has the full answer. Like
well, it's ever changing. Science is always changing.
It's always changing, and there's always someone that can do something better. And if you think that you're the be all end all, then you might be on top of the world for a couple months, but people will start to leave you. So again, going back to our concussion program, we've partnered with those two really big universities, UVic and UBC. And not only have we developed this super evidence-based program using the latest research and actually using tools and modalities that have shown to help, but the researchers at those two universities are going to continue to research. So 6 months from now, we're still using current evidence that's applicable to July 2020. We're not just going to start a program now in February, and in 2022, we're still using what we're doing today.
Now, speaking of cool, I'm always for cool augmentations on human beings. Is there anything that catches your eye at the moment? Are you allowed to talk about it? I don't want to put you in a weird spot here.
Yeah, no. So elaborate on your question a little bit. Do you mean like physical modalities? Do you mean... Like, what are you talking about?
I mean, like, is there something that you can either I'm talking more augmentations. Like, is there a chip that you could put somewhere that could kind of like
No.
offset the feeling of a migraine or a concussion or something like that?
No. So,
But
I mean, there are like even medicines like sumatriptan, which is very commonly used by people that have migraines chronically. They've now modified it a little bit where the sumatriptan actually has a little bit of naproxen in it, which is an anti-inflammatory. Reason being is that through tons and tons of research, they've noticed that migraines are very largely associated with inflammation, and that inflammation restricts blood flow and oxygen to the brain, and that's what starts and initiates migraines. So a lot of times people would take sumatriptan, and it would help, but it would take a couple hours. And then someone notices, hey, if I take Advil with my sumatriptan, like it goes away quicker. And then so now they just put it all in one.
That's
bill.
when the fun times start to happen.
Exactly.
I tell
So
you.
a really cool story in the UK, which is really recent from this week, is they accidentally discovered a T cell that kills cancer cells but leaves the other cells alone.
You know what that sounds like to me?
What?
I'm gonna get a little nerdy here. It sounds like the T virus. That's what's gonna happen. Zombies are coming. I do have a question here.
Yep.
It says, do you employ mindfulness techniques for pain management,
Oh, yeah.
concussion, symptom management?
Oh, yeah. So our occupational therapists and psychologists and counselors use tons and tons of mindfulness, relaxation techniques, breaking down the cognitive barriers and rebuilding them up in healthy ways.
So, sorry, I don't. This might build onto that question, but do you feel like sometimes like how do you know if someone's faking the concussion? Like, it could just be striving for attention, maybe, or something like that, or is there always?
It's very easy to pick out who's faking it, because oftentimes if you're faking a concussion, you've never had one. Because if you've had one, you would never want to fake it because it sucks.
It does. Yes.
So if you fake a concussion, you're gonna exaggerate a lot of how certain things are provoking you, and it's so easy to pick up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So back to so I thought that would build on that, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
So if you, yes. So you
there's
use other, like, do you use like salts or
No. So
stuff?
so mindfulness is not about taking Epsom salt baths.
That's
and having dark rooms with candles. So our mindfulness is to really explore. So let's do a case study. So you have a patient who has a concussion and they're starting to have a lot more anxiety now. They're anxious to leave the house. They're depressed. They're withdrawing. They feel like they can't talk to anyone, and it's constantly on their mind. So what our OT will do is, in a private one-on-one session in a calm environment, is they're gonna use mindfulness techniques, whether that's guided meditation, whether that's cognitive behavioral therapy, whatnot. And what this does, it gives the patient a safe space to really break down each level of their anxiety or depression and the thoughts they're having, and then our OT will help them so they'll break down everything and they'll bring it all up again, but in positive ways of realizing that maybe certain things are irrational, maybe certain things aren't as bad as they can or as they are, how to appropriately and how to effectively manage these different thoughts you're having and circle them back into things that are going to help you. Because if you just sit and dwell on these thoughts, and I have anxiety myself, so I know it's not as easy as just to say, hey, think of things in a positive way. It's a process, which is why our program's 12 weeks. It's a process, but if you can, the mind-body connection is so hard, or it's so hard to navigate, but it's also super strong. And so if you can train and guide someone into reorganizing their negative thoughts towards positive thoughts, it can make a world of difference. Oftentimes when we're dealing with chronic pain, you're not actually dealing with physical pain. It's all in the mind.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Right? Because a broken bone, a sprained joint, a torn ligament, they're going to heal naturally. But if you're feeling that pain 6 months, 12 months, 18 months down the road, it's because there's a cognitive and psychosocial aspect that hasn't been dealt with.
So are you trained in psychology too then?
I personally am not.
But you talk about...
But we have staff that are.
Okay.
And that's what separates us. We don't have some show-off physio that's going to try and be everything for you. Because one, they're not trained, and two, it's outside of their scope. We're going to get you the appropriate treatment because we have the availability of all these different specialties like in our clinics.
Damn.
Yeah.
So when because you're active outside of this,
Yes.
do you play hockey?
I play hockey, I work out, and
So
play
do you
everything.
are you a little bit more cautious? Do you find you're cautious or no? Do you still go
No,
all out?
I'm not cautious at all because I've been playing hockey since I was 5 years old. Like it's like when you're on the pitch, on the ice, on the field, on the court, like a light switches, right? You're not even thinking about injuries because you can't. Otherwise, you're not gonna be performing at your best.
Yeah.
But there have been tons and tons of incidents where someone on the other team or my team gets hurt, and usually I'm assisting the trainers like to help deal with it.
Have you ever had a concussion?
I have. So I played football in high school. So I had two
Okay.
concussions.
Oh, so we're the same.
Yeah.
You might be a little bit more severe than mine, but
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
mine was I was in a match and like I went for on a top rope. Guy spun around and I was supposed to chuck my chin in for a power bomb kind of thing, and I did not. And it was like bam. All I remember is waking up in the back and telling everybody I need to get out there for my match.
Yeah.
And they're like, "No, you already had it. How many fingers am I holding up?"
So what
And
was
it
your rehab journey like?
honestly, I did nothing. I was like 19, man. There's no way I was gonna. Nah, I didn't have time for that.
That explains a lot now.
Ouch.
I kid.
That hurts. So what other type of things do you do then? It can't be all. Are you a specialized in?
So no, we don't do just concussion. Like I said, we feel there's such a big. We feel too many people are being taken advantage of.
Well, yes.
Which is why we really aggressively pursued this specific I don't want to say niche, but it is a niche, and why we did it the appropriate way. We stayed quiet for a year. We let everyone put up their shingle and provide crap service while we were researching.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right, we're creating good partnerships and making sure that we're gonna hit the ground running. And now, just last month, we finally launched our program, and yeah, I mean, people are starting to become really aware.
Do you feel that in this day and age, it's almost like misinformation is almost being pushed out there? Like there's an overabundance of people now with mental illness and things happening. It seems like it's more apparent due to social media.
Yep.
Do you feel like everybody all of a sudden is like an expert just because
Everyone's pretending to
yeah, everybody's pretending to be an expert just because they can Google something?
Yep.
Does that happen?
Pretty much.
Really?
Yeah, you're right.
That's sad.
Yeah, we hear from all sorts of professions that said, "Oh man, like my last session with Jane was pretty much a counseling session." It's like, why? Like your job is to fix her shoulder. like, what are you doing, right? But again, unfortunately, it comes down to bottom line, and there's so much. The market is so oversaturated now, and everyone's fighting for those referrals and dollars, and people unfortunately don't care about how taking advantage of one person has a ripple effect on they can't provide for their family, their marriage is breaking down because they can't communicate properly, so on and so on, right? To that physio, it's just an extra $80.
Yes. So I do have a question again. The 12-week program that you mentioned, does it involve a collaborative team of many professionals?
It does.
Does it?
Yep. So it involves a physiotherapist, an occupational therapist, a kinesiologist, a registered clinical counselor, or a psychologist for more complex cases. And in the very, very rare case that we should need it, we do have a medical physician on staff as well.
Is there like, and I know I'm going to be plugging your company a little bit more.
Hey, I don't mind that at all.
Is there like package deals? Like
again, it depends on the funder.
Okay, so it depends.
So
okay,
the way we structured our program is if your injury was sustained in a car accident, ICBC will fully pay, not a dime out of your pocket. If you have a concussion, again, from playing rec sport,
but you don't do like consultations and stuff like that.
Oh, we'll do consultations.
Okay.
If you work for a company, we'll come to your company and put on a lunch and learn for free because we believe in the value of education. And we might go talk to a group of 40 employees at a certain company and none of them have an injury, but we're not going there expecting a return on our investment. We're going out there to educate people and create that connection. And we're not expecting those people to come to us. Maybe a friend, a kid, a husband, a wife, an aunt, an uncle, a grandma, someone gets an injury and they're going to be like, you know what? Like these people from Bayshore were really cool. And might be a month a year down the road, but people will starting to come to us because they trust us, and we do that a lot. We do what are called floor talks. So in big industrial settings, think of warehouses, think of auto shops. We'll go and do ergonomic assessments for free. Again, just getting that education out there, and it's creating that brand awareness, and it's creating that connection to the community.
Damn.
Yeah.
I didn't expect to be that in depth with your company. Actually sounds pretty cool.
Yeah,
They sound pretty legit there.
So let me. It's not my company, by the way.
Yeah, I don't mean when I
me,
say your company, I mean like the company.
Let me do a quick 30-second plug on who we are. So Bayshore Health is actually a really large company. It's Canada wide. They are owned by a single owner, Stuart. He started the company in the 60s and built it into what it is today, and has always been at the helm. However, they've been focused, and the Bayshore name some people might know really well is from their home health division. Think of nurses coming to your house, providing care, providing medicine, etc. Our division, called therapy and rehab, we're relatively new, only a couple of years, about 3 years in the game. We have about 30 staff, started with one guy, David. He's our director right now, always has been. And then, he grew it to 2, to 3, to 4. And the reason it's grown slowly but effectively is he's been really, really picky with who he hires. We turn down so many candidates because, one, they're not the right fit with the culture we're trying to establish. And two, they just don't have the drive. They want to come in, see patients, cash a check, etc. We're looking for people that have that longer term vision. We want, we like to say we don't hire for a position, we create a position around a person. We want to, when I was hired, it was essentially, I asked, what's my job title? They said, write something down. That's your job title. They created a job for me.
Wow.
Right. Because they liked where my long-term vision was going. So even now, yes, we might have a need for a physiotherapist in our clinic. Yes. Like we need someone to treat patients. But we also want to know that this physiotherapist has passions to, maybe they want to explore treating people with amputations. Maybe they want to explore treating people that have certain types of injuries. And we're going to give them the resources over time to start to develop their own program while continuing to treat patients, and then eventually give them the reins to go and pursue that.
So I gotta ask, what made you want to do this route instead of just copping out? And I'm sorry for the term, but just become a money grabber.
Just treat people, put heat packs on them.
I mean, I'm sure there's more of a business for it. So,
I mean, there is.
I'm just curious.
Sad. So for me, like you, it's that drive to always want to create more, become bigger. I mean, you started with streaming. By the way, Daniel and I have been friends for 7 years.
It's been a long time.
Daniel started with streaming him and Carrie playing video games. And then it turned to Daniel just going live on Facebook randomly. And now it's hosting a podcast that's got hundreds, maybe thousands, maybe more followers. So, you didn't just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna go get a regular job, 8 to 5, and cash a check. Same thing for me. It's I got into healthcare because I wanted to help people. That was my number one drive, and that's why I'm still in it. But I also have a business mind where I have lots of ideas. I see lots of gaps in digital marketing and social media that aren't being filled in the healthcare space. So I have so many projects on the go where I'm shooting content, learning to edit that content through YouTube, and posting it on our social media feeds. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram, Bayshore Therapy.
Dustin.
And so for me, it wasn't just about being a clinician that comes in, I have my room, I have patients coming in and out all day. For me, it's, I'm really invested in this company because my boss is awesome. We've been texting all day today. He's like a buddy. He doesn't feel like my boss. And he trusts me to give me the autonomy to just do what I need to do to make this thing grow. So I feel like I have a personal stake in this company, even though I don't. But
it's kind of a cool feeling.
But I treat it like that. I don't feel like I'm at work. It's a Sunday of a long weekend, and I'm taking a LinkedIn course on SEOs because I want to get really good at that, and I find it entertaining. So for me, my vision is to make this thing grow. It's to take over certain competitors that have a monopoly on the market, and we're going to do that by not just acquiring more businesses and having more infrastructure than them, but it's by being better than them.
It's funny how people think that that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Because I have the same mindset as you basically said, is to shake shit up. Sorry for my language. Oh no, I let one out.
I was told no swearing.
And I know it's very true. I'm the only one that does it. Is to shake things up and change the status quo. You know, and I love,
That's why I use the term industry disruptors. It's
Can I
the
use that?
healthcare industry has become so complacent, and like my own mom is like, how do you just put heat packs on people all day? Doesn't that get boring? And I'm like, I put a heat pack on like 2 people, and it was at the end of their session because like they just wanted heat. But that's the thing. Like my mom has spinal, like just from like genetics, she has spinal stenosis, so her spinal canals are narrowing. And the only thing that's gonna fix it is exercise therapy. And I'm like, Mom, go to physio. And she's like, why? I have heat packs at home. Like, Mom. So finally, I told her to go to one of our clinics, and she goes and she comes home. And she's like, I'm never going back again. I'm like, why? She's like, they made me do exercises. like it was a bad thing. And so like it's so unfortunate. I'm gonna throw the South Asian community under the bus a little bit here, and the the Asian Pacific communities. So primarily in Richmond and Surrey, is you have physiotherapists who, this is gonna be such a bad term, prey on the elderly of people in those communities. So in Surrey, you have a South Asian physiotherapist who's come buddy with a couple South Asian doctors, and that doctor is sending all their elderly South Asian patients to this physio. MSP's covering the bill. They these people don't know what to expect from physio. They go, they get a heat pack put on, maybe a little bit of TENS, make them feel good. Out the door they go, not a dollar out of their pocket. MSP's paying this physio. They've got 4 or 5 people going at once. Like, this physio is making bank. And in Richmond, the same thing's happening with the Asian population. Unfortunately, like, it's been going on for way too long, but they are starting to crack down more on it, which is awesome. Because not only is it, you're taking advantage of the elderly population, like, let's break it down, that's what it is, but you're also, you're undermining your colleagues. Like, there's tons and tons of genuinely good physiotherapists that want to practice good physiotherapy, who are now having, like my mom, like, the reputation is just, you put heat packs on people. Same with chiropractors, you crack people's necks. So, you know, there's a crackdown happening, and the industry is starting to turn around a little bit. But I mean, you're always going to have those people out there.
That's amazing. I'm sorry, Dustin is just, he's waving me down on text and everything, saying that we're pretty much out of time.
That's fine. We can do part 2 maybe.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to have him on again. Okay, so do your plug one more time. Where can they find you?
Yeah, so our company is called Bayshore Therapy and Rehab. 604-404-0617. That goes directly to my work line, so you can talk to me. My email is bdillon@bayshore.ca. That's BDHILLON@bayshore.ca. Honestly, if you just generally have questions, like, you don't even have to come to us for treatment. Just shoot me an email and I'll answer your email, or I'll get the appropriate clinician to answer your email. Again, like, we don't do it for the money. I mean, we do, it's a business, but like, we don't create these relationships with the community for the money. We want to get proper education out there. And hey, maybe you know someone that does need rehab, and you send them our way, and that can be your way of thanking us. And then our website's www.btrbc.ca. Right now, that concussion program I was referencing launched in Victoria at our clinic. It is coming to Langley soon, but that's the official program, but we have tons and tons of clinicians that are ready to treat head injuries, concussions, post-stroke, post-surgery, workplace injuries, car accidents, all over the Lower Mainland. We're as north as Whistler and as east as Chilliwack, in Kelowna, and all over the island.
Damn. And with that being said, if you have an inspirational story, or if you just have a great message you want to send out, again, we have our magazine online at CloseLook.ca. You could check us out there. You could call us there, send an email there. We'd love to talk to you. We'd love to meet you. Love to have you on the show. As cool as Balraj here. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I
want to
love
say,
that.
like, I think there's
Yeah.
there's good opportunity for Bayshore and CloseLook to maybe
Oh.
collaborate on some things.
Oh man, I'm pretty sure we would love that.
Yeah.
We would. No. Anyways, okay, so we gotta write. Dustin's just like, guys, can you just wrap this up? My God. Do we an audience? And do you guys have any more any questions, real quick? No. No? Okay. So with that being said, thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you everybody for participating in the chat. Thank you, Dustin, for keeping me up with the chat. Thank you, Balraj, for being on the show.
My pleasure.
We'll check you out, guys, next week. Next week, by the way, we're going from concussions to people who pretty much get concussions all the time. Wrestling, Mr. India will be on the show, Rish Koya, for talking about more. So we're going to continue with this health thing. So anyways, we'll talk to you guys next week, and have a great night. Now I got to make this as smooth as possible.